So in this video, we're going to be talking about pillar number 1 of the online summit program, which is specialized training for hiking. Now, when it comes down to it, I truly do believe that training can be the difference between completing your hiking adventures comfortably and confidently, and be the difference between that and an absolute nightmare. And I've heard so many horror stories of hikers out there who either just have a really bad time, get themselves into a lot of pain, or ultimately have some really, really bad situations. And a lot of it, and many of these situations, can be reduced if they did the right physical preparation. Now, unfortunately, when it comes down to just as a whole, and probably 99% of the hiking population, when it comes down to it, most hikers realistically just don't know what they're doing with their training. And this is just something apparent I'm seeing from so many conversations, from seeing so much information online, which is just wrong and misleading, just sort of seeing what people share around in different groups and communities. And in all honesty, most hikers out there don't really know what they're doing with their training. And typically they'll usually fall into one of three categories. Number one is, a big population of hikers just don't do any training at all outside of hiking. The typical advice is, if you want to get fit for hiking, just go out and hike. And yes, that is true in theory. And if you have the opportunity to go out and hike every single week or multiple times a week, this can be great, but it's not amazing advice for a lot of people. A lot of people out there can't get out and hike that consistently. A lot of people don't have easy access to trails. A lot of people have some considerations which make this not the best approach. If they deal with aches and pains, if they struggle with certain sections on the trail or whatever it may be, and just going out and hiking may not be enough for them to get them where they need to be. So a lot of hikers out there not doing any training outside of their hiking, and it's kind of selling them short. Now, another situation a lot of hikers fall into is just doing what we call general training. So just going down the local gym, doing some classes, doing Pilates, doing yoga, pushing some weights, doing some bodybuilder approach, whatever it may be. And this type of stuff is great for general fitness and general weight loss if that's what you're looking for. And it's definitely better than nothing, but we can get so much better than that. Because these general approaches to training, realistically, the majority of the fitness industry is designed around losing weight, general fitness, and sometimes bodybuilding and putting on muscle. Now, any three of those things, not super relevant for hikers. The demands of hiking is a little bit different than what general training typically provides. And be able to get yourself ready for hours and hours and hours on the trail, multiple ups and downs and steep, rough terrain, and all of that takes a slightly different approach than the general population. So again, while this is better than nothing, we can probably do better. And then the third situation a lot of hikers fall into is following what we call a cookie cutter program. So those pre-made programs you buy online or download online, they'll cost you like $20, $30, and then we have 12 weeks or 16 weeks or 24 weeks of training. And this stuff, again, it's better than nothing, but they don't really respect individual needs. We all know we are all individuals. We have our own individual needs, preferences, situations, and all of that. And 75% of the time, these cookie cutter programs are just not enough for most people. They will work for some, and if they work for you, fantastic, but there are just so many people that fail through these things. And through Summit Strength, we offer a few of these cookie cutter programs, but they're all free because that's what they're worth. They're not worth any money, in my personal opinion. When it comes down to training, a hiker can do so much better. And if they can have a little bit more direction, a little bit more specificity, and a little bit more personalization, you can see some incredible results with your hiking with not really doing a huge amount more or harder training. You just have to do the right training. So essentially what we do through the online summit program is our training is designed to give you the specialist training you need to prepare you for the specialist demands of the trail in a way that's going to be personalized to you, your life, and your situation. So you're not just treated as just one size fits all, but we're going to respect your own personal situation. So how do we go about this? Well, it's pretty straightforward. Step number 1, we have a pretty thorough discovery process in the beginning of our programs where we make sure we get all the relevant information that we need to make sure we can personalize everything to you. Now, step number 1 is every single person that we work with, we have a conversation with before they actually sign up. So every single person who is interested in our training will actually get on a live Zoom call with our team, either myself or my team, and we'll actually chat. And we'll just learn about what you're looking to achieve, what your barriers are, what you've tried before, what your personal preferences are, and just get a really, really good understanding of exactly what you need. Because there's nothing worse than just stepping into something and no one knows you. You're just another number, and just get treated like that. And we do not want that. So every single journey starts with a conversation. If people do decide to proceed with the training, then we get them to go through two things where we get additional information to make sure we get this personalization right. Number one, we go through a pretty thorough intake questionnaire where essentially you will fill in a whole bunch of details around you and your life and your situation. So for example, it'll cover, what specific goals you're training for, what distances or pack weights you need, what equipment you might have access to. Would you prefer to train indoors, at home, or in a gym? How often in a month you may be able to go out and hike, and how long for? Is there anything you particularly love and hate doing? How often in the week do you actually want to train? How much time can you commit to that? And a whole bunch of other things that just let us personalize everything around you and your situation. Now, on top of that, after that, then you go through what we call a ready to trek assessment, which is a really simple exercise assessment, which you just do at home, which just allows me to identify and us to identify any particular weaknesses, blind spots, or personal needs that may affect both your training or your time actually on the trail. So we can actually identify saying, this muscle is actually looking pretty good. This muscle maybe is a little bit lagging behind. This muscle is a little bit tight. This is a bit weak, or whatever it may be. So instead of actually going in blind with our training and just saying, hey, just do this, and kind of hope for the best, but we can actually get a really good understanding of where you need the most work, and also how we can sort of hone everything in for you, just so we can get the best results through our training with the least amount of time and effort put in. So once we have all that information, we basically take all that and use it to put together a personalized workout plan based off all of that. Now, typically when it comes down to our programs, generally they're sort of based around 4 different things, and our programs will have 4 different things we sort of work around. Now, that covers strength training, hiking specific conditioning, hiking programming, and recovery and mobility work. Now, the strength training is typically aimed at 2 main outcomes. Number 1, just making sure all the supporting muscles of the joints, so the knees, the ankles, the hips, everything else, that they are going to be strong and stable enough to withstand any forces you do encounter on the trail. So for example, if you have an extended downhill section, or if you step in a pothole, if you have a slip, stumble, or fall, or whatever it is, but your body's in a better chance of withstanding those forces and hopefully not having that turn into pain or potentially anything worse. Now, on the flip side of that, the strength training is really used just to try to hone in and improve your performance for the trail. So your legs and your upper body are in a position where you can kind of go, as long as you need, whether it's uphill, downhill, whether you end up carrying a few extra kilos in your pack that you don't expect, or whatever it is, but the muscles themselves are not so much going to be the limiting factor. Now, in amongst all that, we generally build that out with a bit of balance work and also quite a bit of core development, just to make sure we're sort of ticking off all our boxes there and really attacking things from every angle. Now, the hiking specific conditioning. These tend to be shorter cardio sessions you'll do during your week, either at home or around the local neighborhood or in the gym if you prefer, but they're very, very targeted at particular aspects of hiking fitness. So for example, if we want to improve your cardiovascular function going up hills, so when you have steep ascent, you might not get so huffed and puffed or out of breath, or if we want to improve your tolerance carrying a pack on your back, or if we want to improve your hiking speed, so it's a little bit easier to keep up with quicker members of your group or quicker friends or whatever it is. But we got particular workouts, particular protocols that can hone in those areas and see a change relatively quickly. Now, the hiking programming is essentially looking at how much hiking realistically you may want to do as part of this training and just put in a bit of structure and direction around that. Just so we can do it in a way that, number 1, doesn't put you at risk of doing too much too soon and flaring up some type of overuse injury, which is super common in the world of hiking, but also number 2, do it in a way where we can progressively increase your fitness and make sure you're getting where you need to be before any trips you may be doing. And then finally, we also do some recovery and mobility work, which is often the sort of the missing piece of the puzzle for a lot of people here. And that's just making sure we do small things during your week, just to keep the joints moving happily and freely, and also help the body bounce back and recover as well as it can in between sessions. Now, this program, it's all basically delivered via our training app, because obviously as an online program, we're not there with you. We're not there to teach you the instructions and this and that. So we want to make this as simple as possible. So essentially your program is load it up into our training app, and literally just open it up, look at the session, follow the instructions, and away you go. Now, to give you a little bit of a visual on how that may present, very, very, very simple. Here's a bit of an example in regards to our training app. Now, if you were working with us, it will look a little bit different in regards to the mobile app. This is the desktop version, so it presents a little bit nicer on the mobile app, but here's a little bit of an example just so you can run your eyes on. Now, this is an example strength workout. Now, I will be clear for anyone watching this is if you did work with us and you did choose to come on board, your program would look different to this, purely for the fact that, as I said before, every single thing is personalized around you. This is just an example to see how the app presents. So pretty much how we structure our workouts, it's very, very simple. All of our workouts will begin with a little bit of a warm-up in regards to mobility. We'll do maybe 2 or 3 different mobility exercises to get the joints warmed up, get things moving, and potentially work on a little bit of mobility. After that, we typically go into what we call a little bit of stability stuff. So this is still classified as your warm-up. We're still getting the body primed to exercise. And here's where we work on some slightly smaller muscle groups. So in this example, we're doing a little bit of glute work with the glute medius, small muscle in the bum. And also here, we're doing a bit of core work as well. So we work through that. Then we basically come into the main part of the workout. And here we'll typically do a combination of lower body work, upper body work, sometimes some lower limb work, some calves or some shins or something like that, and also a bit of mobility as well. Now, this particular workout is just a 30-minute example. So essentially people would go through the warm-ups, they do this stuff twice, they do this stuff 3 times, have a little bit of a cool down, and they'd be done. Short, sharp, and efficient. Now, the way that this works is you can open this up. As I said, on the mobile app, it'll literally just lay you like a laundry list. You just go boom, 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 work through. If there's any exercises you're just not 100% familiar with, you can basically click onto it. They'll all have a written description and also a video description here as well. So basically you can just watch the video as many times as you want and sort of check this out. Now, a lot of these videos will also have a bit of a voiceover, and I'll be sort of saying, hey, concentrate on X, Y, and Z, and this and that. So essentially you just follow it step by step by step by step. Super, 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 super simple. Now, on the cardio side of things, these are usually even simpler. And basically, if my app wants to load, so it's very, 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 very simple. You basically open it up. Again, we'll have a bit of a warm-up loaded in. We'll sort of have a bit of instruction in regards to we're doing a bit of stair climbing today. And then we'll just list down what we need you to do. And we'll sort of say, hey, this is where we want you to do the session on a hill or a set of stairs. This is how long the workout's going to be and how it's going to be making up. This is the pace we want you to go at. And then this is how we're going to progress over the next few weeks and make it a little bit more difficult. Again, these are just example workouts of how it may present, but to give you a bit of visual in regards to the app. So just to make it super, super user-friendly, it works out pretty straightforward. Now, on top of that, obviously you'll get your program and you get through these sessions. When it comes down to training, one of the most important things and the most important principles of effective training is progression, because the body will get used to some things relatively quickly. And we can't just do the same thing over and over and over again, because you'll just stagnate and not really improve. So essentially what we do is make sure that over time we progress the workouts and make them more challenging. So phase by phase by phase, we'll bump things up, bump things up, bump things up. As you get stronger, as you get fitter, the workout demands will adapt to keep on moving you forward. If you are training for a particular date, so if you have a particular trip you're training for and you're in that situation, then we will make sure that we get you in the best possible position right before that date. And we will have a long-term plan to say, you know what, right before you leave on your hike, that is where we're going to peak with your fitness. So we'll slowly build up, and get you exactly where you need to be just before your trip. Alternatively, if you don't have a particular date and you're just looking as a regular hiker wanting to improve, then we'll just look at continuously building you up and just a step by step by step by step, just slowly but surely building you up. Very, very straightforward. Now, last things I want to cover on this video before I wrap things up, just a few common questions we often get about this program. Number one is, what if something doesn't work for me? What if I get this program and something just doesn't work for me? A workout doesn't work, I don't like an exercise, or what if I get a few weeks in and I get sick or go on holidays or something comes up? Realistically, all of these things are very, very easy to work around. Flexibility is a major component of this program. It is not a one-size-fits-all program where you just get it and you have to figure things out for yourself. It's not a program that is set in stone. It's a very, very adjustable and adaptable and fluid thing. So ultimately, anytime something comes up which doesn't work for you, you've just got to let us know, and then we'll just adjust and adapt as necessary. Same thing if you get sick or go on holidays or whatever it may be, we just adjust and change to work around where you're at. Now, the next question a lot of people ask, is how much time do I need to commit to each week? Realistically, all the training that we do is personalized around what you think is realistic to fit into your week and what you actually feel like you can fit in week after week after week. Because when it comes down to it, one of my biggest philosophies as a coach is really fitting the training around you and your life, as opposed to you having to fit your life around my training. So if you come to us and sort of say, hey, I'm actually happy to train an hour or 2 hours every single day, which some people do, they've got plenty of time, they love training, we could work around that and make sure we do it in a way that's going to be safe and effective. Alternatively, if you're like, I'm actually really, really busy, I can only really fit in 3 30-minute sessions or 3 20-minute sessions or maybe 10 minutes every day or whatever it may be. If that's all you can fit in, then we'll just make sure we're making the best use of that time possible. So realistically, when it comes down to it, there's no set amount of time you need to commit it to each week. You just think what's realistic for you, and we build our recommendations around that. And if there is a situation where you're saying, hey, maybe I'm preparing for a big mountain hike and I can only do 10 minutes a day, well, then maybe we'll be like, realistically, you may have to adjust that, and we can have that conversation with you. It doesn't happen very often, but sometimes we do need to be realistic, and that's why we're in your corner to help you out with this. Now, next question is, do I need experienced training? A lot of people from the outside look at this and be like, oh, wow, this looks a little bit serious or whatever it may be. In all honesty, no, you do not need any experienced training with this. We will fit it all around you and your experience. So if you're super experienced, we can do some slightly more advanced training. If you're a complete beginner, you've never touched a weight or anything like that, we'll keep things pretty simple and we'll make sure it is fit for your level of experience and your level of comfort. And then finally, do I need any equipment? Realistically, no. In the initial questionnaire, you will answer a question, would you prefer to train at home, in a gym, or outdoors? And if you train in a gym, we can incorporate the gym equipment. If you're training at home, there's a follow-up question that asks you, okay, if you're at home, what equipment do you have access to? If you have anything lying around, fantastic, we can use that. If you don't have anything lying around, there's basically only 2 things we 100% need. Number 1 is a set of mini bands or TheraBands, which if you don't have you can buy them online for like $10, really, really simple. Number 2 is a backpack of some type, which being a hiker usually isn't too much of an issue. Those 2 things are the only things we 100% need if you're training at home, and we can get you incredibly, incredibly, incredibly strong using only those 2 things. Not a problem at all. So realistically, when it comes down to it, that is kind of the framework on how our training looks like. The specialized training for hiking, it's so valuable for hikers out there. And we've seen time and time again just what a change this by itself can make in a hiker's time on the trail. Now, on top of that, in the future videos, we'll be getting into pillar 2 and pillar 3 on how we build out this program on top of the training, but this is pillar number 1, and hopefully that all makes sense. So with that being said, let's finish up this video and move into pillar number 2.